although Bollywood and Tollywood films have been awesome for a long time, now other people are being able to catch on to it, and I think that's fantastic. Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel Watched by Ashley, where we take a look at some of the new releases on the big streaming platforms and discuss whether or not they're worth the watch. Today we're going to be taking a look at 2022's Tollywood smash hit, and that is RRR. So this film came out March of 2022. I know I'm a little bit late in terms of reviewing it, but I just watched it. You can catch it on Netflix, and I'm really glad that I took up the suggestion to give this a shot. I've watched Bollywood films before. I know this is a Tollywood production. The film was directed by S.S. Rajamouli, and he also wrote the screenplay. This film is visually stunning. I think it is a sensory experience. There's a lot going on. One thing I will say though is that you have to have an open mind if you've never watched Indian films before. Luckily for me, I kind of know what to expect, which is why I was surprised that there was such a reaction, because if you've ever watched Bollywood or Hindi films, you know that they're big, over the top, and grand in all sense, right? So I guess now, because the world is a lot more open and accepting to foreign films, this film has actually just broke any glass ceilings that Indian films have had before, and I'm really happy for that. I'm glad that a lot more people are getting exposure to just the beauty of Indian films, because it is so culturally rich. Everything that you watch here, you have to keep in mind that it's just going to be built upon exponentially. So if you're the kind of person who scrutinizes films, like if you're like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that Top Gun Maverick wasn't accurate in terms of the G-force, you're not going to enjoy this film, because it definitely does go above and beyond your beliefs in terms of just how grand it is sometimes. I think this is a fantastic film to start with if you want to explore that genre, because it has a bit of everything in it. You have some action, you have some comedy, you have some romance, and it's all taking place in the setting of 1920s in India, when the country's still under British rule. We get to see a really terrible depiction of the British Empire here. Of course, it is hyperbole. They really do make you dislike the British in this movie, and that is the point, to show just how terrible living under their rule was for many people, whether they be in the villages or in the cities. Everyone was impacted by this occupation, and S.S. Rajamouli decided to tell a story with two historical figures that's not based in any reality. It's not based on history at all. He just wanted to kind of tell a story of an imaginary friendship between superheroes. So these two revolutionary characters, like, well, how would it be if they actually met each other? Even though geographically and historically it's not possible for them really to have lined up in this sense, but he just thought it was really interesting to show what could have been. Even though it's a 3-hour runtime, you don't feel it. Time really flies by. Starring in the film, we have NTR playing Bheem, and then we have Charan playing Raju. And so those are our two historical characters. The performances by these two actors are fantastic. They're definitely incredibly talented in terms of the acting. They're in great shape. They dance fantastically. And even for Charan, like, he is an equestrian. So that's a skill that you're seeing on the horse here. He looks very comfortable, and that was a great addition to the film. In terms of the story, high level, we start the film with a British governor and his wife visiting a village, and they're being entertained by some of the villagers. There's a very pretty little girl who's singing a beautiful song. The governor's wife, she's very entertained and smitten by the little girl, so she says she wants her, just like she's a puppy or something. She wants this little girl. So they throw a couple coins at the parents, and the parents don't speak English, so they think that they're getting paid for the song that their daughter Molly's just sang. But in reality, it's just the Brits buying their child. And so as the governor and his wife are kind of going away, taking this little girl with them, the mom, of course, is distraught, trying to give the money back so she can get her daughter. And part of the guards, they are trying to keep the mom away, and they're about to shoot her to get her to leave them alone. And the governor stops them, and he says, again, Indian isn't worth the bullet. If you think about the amount of money it took to ship your bullet from Britain, like this, her life is not worth it. Find another way to deal with her. So they whack her in the head with a log. It almost looks like they kill her because they knock the life out of her. And the village is very upset by the actions of the Brits. And when the British governor gets back to his compound, he's warned by one of the liaisons, and he says, like, you know, by taking this little girl, you're going to cause some trouble, because this village has a shepherd, and this individual, who is Bheem, he's going to get this little girl back. It doesn't matter what the cost is or how long it takes him, he's going to get her back and bring her to the village. And this is going to cause a lot of problems. The Brits, of course, were like, well, how could anyone try to oppose us? And the governor and his wife were kind of the mindset that no Indian should ever try to stand up to them, so let them try. And the governor's wife actually gives the officers a special challenge. She says for any officer who's able to capture the shepherd and bring him alive, they will get a very large promotion. They will go up in rank and become a special officer. And one of the officers here hearing this announcement is Raju. And Raju, although he's Indian, he's working as a British officer, he's very focused on this goal of moving up in the ranks. So he's taking this personally and he has to get it done. He's the man for the job and he's going to do it. And we've actually seen Raju in a bit of action. There's a scene where there's a British base that's about to get attacked by protesters. And Raju ends up taking on 200 of them to find one man who threw a rock at a picture of the king. And he brings him in. And it's a very intense scene because he's taking on all these men. He's getting beat up. He's getting his licks. And he manages to persevere and get his man and bring him back. And it just goes to show the determination of Raju. And he has like this superhuman strength. And it's really impressive. And one of the things I want to say is that the wire work in this movie is phenomenal. Like, I would liken it to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, just in terms of the precision. Like, it's actually really good. I was impressed by it. And keep in mind, it's not meant to look realistic. Like, of course, he's doing these incredible leaps, but it's just meant to show you the things that you really want to see deep down inside. Like, you want to see the over-the-top and extravagant stunts here. And that's what we're shown in the scene with Raju beating up all these men. In terms of Raju and Bheem, they both have their missions. So Raju needs to find the shepherd, who is Bheem, and Bheem needs to find Molly. And while these two are kind of going about their missions, they actually end up stumbling upon each other accidentally, but they don't know what each other's motives are. So there's a little boy who ends up in trouble as a bridge is about to collapse since the train's on fire, and he's probably going to get caught up in the debris. And so these two end up working together to save this boy, and by doing so they end up developing an incredible friendship. You get a beautiful montage, and it's very sweet to see because they're almost like polar opposites. Like, Bheem is in the town pretending to be a Muslim mechanic, and then you have Raju, who is in the town as an officer. Of course, Bheem doesn't know that, but it's almost like country mouse and city mouse. And all that happens before the title card is even shown. So that just goes to show you the scope of this movie. There's a lot going on here. SS Rajamouli did a fantastic job in terms of tackling very serious topics, but doing it in a way that was light enough for foreigners to really get on board and buy in on the story here. I do wish that there was more music and songs in this film. I felt like it was light on the song, although Naatu Naatu is a fantastic song. You can't help but tap to the beat and move your feet and kind of want to start dancing when you hear the song. And it's so high energy. And I just love the whole depiction of the Brits trying to get down and keep up with them. Like, that was really fun and fantastic. It really does deserve its recognition as Song of the Year because it, like, just the energy from the song transcends language or any barriers. So kudos to them. I'm really glad they're getting recognition for that. Highlights of the film, aside from the song Naatu Naatu, would be the stunt work and the choreography. I was so blown away by the fight scene with Raju and Bheem. Like, I haven't seen choreography that clean and well done since Captain America Winter Soldier. A lot of the action scenes, one thing that stands apart versus Hollywood movies is that you can actually see everything. And I thought that was a really good decision. Like, it just makes it so refreshing. A lot of the stunts aren't practical or realistic at all, but it's just really fun to watch. So this is a fun movie. I think if you're just looking for something to entertain you, this movie definitely does that. One other thing that really stood out to me that, like, I honestly, like, I gasped and I was like, is that real? There's a scene where they have like a tower of people and Bheem and Raju are climbing them when they like decide to become friends. It's like almost like a celebration tower for them. That scene I was so impressed with. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't find if it was like, if there was any special effects there, but like that was incredibly impressive. It just goes to show the grand scale of this film. One thing I do want to say is that the real villain in this movie is actually the governor's wife. Like, she's literally the worst character in this movie.
There's hardly any blood. Hit him harder.
Aren't you quite vicious, my dear?
So Rajamouli did a great job in terms of writing a villain, because you would expect it to be the governor, but I just found his wife is even worse than he is, which is saying a lot. In the vein of this movie being over the top, even like the racism is hyperbole.
Look at all these brown buggers.
I think they did that for two reasons. One, you're not supposed to have any attachment to the Brits here. They're definitely the villains. I think this is just a kind of, in a sense, almost event how Indians feel they've been portrayed by British people in their own culture. Like, they feel like they've been referred to as monkeys.
It's as though they vanished, sir. Even the monkeys won't speak.
And it's almost shocking, some of the things that you hear in this movie, because you're like, oh my gosh, that was actually really bad. That's really racist. But that's just how the people have been made to feel, and this is their opportunity to kind of put that into words and art. They're trying to make a villain out of the British people. They're painting them all with the same brush. So that was their goal, and they accomplished that there. One of the complaints is some people don't like the fact that Rajamouli decided to use these two historical figures in the film. For the characters of Komaram, Bheem, and for Alluri Sitarama Raju, especially making a blockbuster superhero type of movie where everything is over the top, right? They felt like it was kind of disrespectful to their legacies. And I totally understand that. I mean, I was very upset with the Marilyn Monroe movie Blonde. Like, I felt that way too. Like, why would you take this historical figure and tarnish their reputation when you could have just told a similar story but made it about a fictional person? So I do get that. I don't know culturally, but from watching the film, I don't think they negatively depict these two characters. I think that it's in a positive light. I think it does their legacy some good because it would make audiences want to do research and find out more about them. And so I think it's a net positive. I don't think it's a fair criticism to say that it was just opportunistic or capitalistic of Rajamouli to incorporate them into this film. Another weird thing that I've seen in some of the critics' videos is that people think that Raju and Bheem have like some kind of attraction to each other. I think that's completely, that's the wrong interpretation of their friendship. And that's something a bit more like Hollywood would do, like to queer bait you. Raju and Bheem are just really, really good friends, right? Like, you can tell that Raju is like his wingman and he's trying to help him get the girl. There isn't anything romantic in that sense. In most Bollywood films, like, the guys are really good friends and they have really close relationships with each other. So that's not new. I just thought it was very strange that that was kind of the one thing that people took away from their interactions with each other. I don't think that's the right direction or the right thing to take away from the films, that they may have been into each other. Like, that's not the case at all. One other thing I want to say, like, in terms of this genre and the films, like, Rajamouli also has another fantastic film that takes on a figure that's well known in culture. That would be the Bahubali films. The Bahubali, The Beginning. It's a film that's really good. I think that's also on Netflix. You should check that out as well. Overall, if I was to give this film a rating, I think it's definitely an 8 out of 10 film. It's entertaining from beginning to end. The things that really work well in this film, I think the plot is very well paced, especially for a Tollywood film. Although I personally would have liked a few more songs, I think they made very good use of the time that they had here. The action is top notch. Like, they give you everything. They give you close combat. They give you an action scene where you're shooting arrows and guns, and give you a little bit of parkour. So definitely high pace in certain parts, and I think that it was really well balanced. In terms of the story, like, everything comes around full circle. There's even a moral to the story, so I thought that was really great. The only thing that takes away from it, of course, is that it's just hyper everything. But I don't mind that. Like, I know that it's something that some people can't get on board with, and it's not a movie for everybody. I think this is a good opportunity to get your feet wet in terms of Hollywood and Bollywood films, because it, like I said, has a bit of everything. And after you watch this, you can kind of take the parts that you like and look for other things. So if you like comedy and romance, then you can watch a movie like Dostana from 2008. If you like over-the-top action, you can watch a movie like Doom. Like, so things like that, if you delve further into the genre, you'll find more of what you're looking for. So I highly recommend this film. I think you should give it a watch if you haven't before. But those are my thoughts in regards to RRR. If you've seen the film, please let me know in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Is it something that you're not interested in at all? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to have a discussion with you. But that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the content here, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. This will help me grow the YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time, so take care. Bye.